Ruth Stewart, school teacher in West Baltimore. I lived on the corner, and there was a pool room and a restaurant and a square. And when the riots came, man, it was fires. It was people just moving, running with food and appliances and clothes, because we had a pawn shop, we had liquor stores, we had bars. And people took chains. I could see them. This man took chains and put them on the back bump of his car. This store on Monroe and Edmondson had bars over the window. And he hooked the chains to the bars and he ripped the bars off, and it was free range. Everybody was up in that store. Me, everybody was in that store. See, I had 2 children, and I didn't know what was going to go on after this. My husband was in the service, so I said, I got to look out for my children. I went in, and I had milk crates full of carnation milk. I would run and dump that in the car and run back and fill it back up and give us some more stuff. But it was scary, because you didn't know whether or not the world was coming to an end, because everywhere you look, there was smoke and fires and people running and screaming. I saw my cousins. They had a sofa. One was on one end and one was on the other. And we had so many hams. We went in one store and they had hams galore. And I remember my brother had the machine that you just slice lunch meat up with and just dragging it down the street. I was getting what we needed. When they pulled the bars off, I just grabbed polyrysol, because that's what my children and my sister's children took. So I got plenty of vitamins. I got liquor. I was selling liquor because I had so much of it that I wasn't drinking. A lot of my relatives were arrested walking out of stores with stuff. We was coming from a famous store on Gilmore Street, and we were coming out of the basement with these hams. And it was a trap door in the store, and that's where all the meats and stuff were. Now, here come these soldiers into the store, guns blazing, and they macing people. And my niece just happened to come right by when they sprayed the mace, and bam, she went down. I had to drop my hand and pick her up. People were trampled, you hear me? It was like let a bunch of wild horses loose. And if you fell, you better hurry up and try to get up. I was in the middle of it. I was more afraid that if I didn't do anything, I was going to be lost, you know? So I had to stick with them blacks. You know, this is our revenge. This is our war. Then the soldiers came through the blocks with the bullhorns. Clear the streets. Get off the streets. Get in your homes. Get out the windows. But we were defiant. No, we ain't staying here. All that could happen to us was that we would die. And if we did stay in the house with no food or anything, we were going to die anyway. So we'll take our chances out there. And now, with this younger crowd, their tolerance is really short. Even my own children. My oldest child is 41, my son. He wouldn't have made it back when I was coming up because, like me, he's just too mouthy. Right now, my son is in prison. Well, both of my sons are incarcerated. One in Cumberland and one is in Ocean City, and they don't take no stuff. They wouldn't take half of what I went through. They have their own beliefs now. Now, they're people that were slaves or former slaves. They have heard and read our family history. The younger people now, their mindset is, no way. We're not going back to that. Martin Dyer was an inspiration. But he was an inspiration for a lot of us that sat back and took what was dealt out. And his death made fighters out of those of us that weren't fighters.